Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on Ludicrous Feed. You're with Tesla Tom, and today I've got a very special guest. My wife, Joy Ryder, joins us once again. Hello, Joy.
Hello, Tesla Tom.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning. For those of you joining us for the first time on this channel, we talk about the impending energy revolution, where we discuss electric cars, solar panels, and home battery storage solutions. If you haven't done so already, please take a moment to hit subscribe. We'd love for you to stay up to date with our latest videos. Alright, Joy, we are going to talk about an issue that I guess we get asked a lot about as a family owning an electric vehicle, and that is the issue of range anxiety. Now, Joy, what do you understand by the term range anxiety?
Okay, so range anxiety is basically how far you can travel on a single charge of your car, or if you're in an ICE vehicle, how far a tank of petrol is going to get you.
I guess by definition, anxiety means either real or perceived. Do you think a lot of this is perceived rather than real, this anxiety?
I think it's different for different people. Even if you talk to people in petrol cars, some people will always drive with the fuel light on, and other people like myself, will try never to let it drop below a quarter tank. So
that's very true. So it's very variable depending on your personality. Now, I guess the biggest issue with range anxiety is not so much day-to-day driving in the city, but I guess on a road trip, when you're on vacation with a family, for example. I guess we've been on a few road trips in our lifetime as a family. We've been on road trips both in an ICE vehicle and an electric vehicle. How do you compare the two situations?
I guess I'm probably a little bit more aware as to how many kilometres we have left to go in the Tesla, only because I know that there are less options as to where it's going to, where we'd be able to charge. But honestly, I've never sort of sat in the car, on a highway and freaked out that we weren't going to make it to our destination. That's never been an issue for me.
Yeah, I guess people say that when you drive an electric vehicle, you've got to kind of plan your trip. But I guess logic dictates that you probably should plan your trip anyway, regardless of what vehicle you drive. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. That's right. So I guess in a way, the Tesla's good for that, because you actually plan ahead, and even to the point where you might plan ahead as to where to have lunch or the next meal. It's that specific. Instead of just driving until you see a stop, it's now okay, let's try and make it to this point and we'll go and have lunch there. So I actually like that. I prefer that.
Yeah, so that brings us to our next point, which is charging times. Like people say, it takes 5 minutes to pump a gasoline or a petrol car, whereas an electric car you need at least half an hour to get to your next supercharger. Has that ever bothered us, I guess, on our road trips so far?
I don't think so, because for a road trip you're always going to have to stop anyway. As in you should want to stop for a rest anyway. So I think the way the points at which you need to charge in a Tesla work naturally with rest stops, and so you can make them do double duty.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess, even though it takes 5 minutes to charge when there's no one around at the gas station, we know that if you travel with a family on busy school holiday times when everyone's on the road, like how long have we waited sometimes at a petrol station to get gas or petrol? Like we're talking 15, 20 minutes, right? If it's really busy. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And, normally the fast food outlet that's next door to the petrol station is also chock-a-block full of people getting food, so it's not really any different.
Yeah, true. And like sometimes if you're waiting in your car for 15 minutes, you can't exactly leave your car there while it's in the queue and get some food. You've all got to stay in the car while you get the gas. Whereas in an electric vehicle, you can plug it in, and then off you go and get something to eat.
Yeah, but look, I think that's only because at the moment there are less electric vehicles on the road. So if we get to a point where everyone's driving electric vehicles, then you'll still have that same problem where you've got to wait, maybe, to even get a charge point, because if there are, say, 10 cars charging, you'll have to wait before you can charge.
Yeah, that's a good point. And in the US, I've seen, and Europe as well, in Scandinavia, like there are people waiting for superchargers because there's so many electric vehicles on the road. I guess at the moment the superchargers in Australia at least aren't filled with good infrastructure around it. Like for example, the one at Heatherbrae in Newcastle, the last time we were there was almost like nothing open in terms of food. Like, what would you like to see around a supercharger in the future?
I think you can't go wrong with a cafe, and basically what you generally have at an existing petrol station. So clean toilets public toilets for people to use, and fast food's always a good option because everyone can generally everyone can afford fast food if they're on a road trip. So just something that's accessible and food that the majority of people would be able to eat.
Yeah, I think road trips is for supercharging is the thing that Tesla and other electric vehicle makers need to nail, because day-to-day driving is quite easy, but especially in Australia, like we've got such big distances between cities that road trips are really important. I guess for me personally, it worries me in Australia if you get stranded without a charge, because there's not a lot of towns between big cities, whereas I guess places in Europe and even the US, there's more towns in between. So if you get stuck, there's probably going to be civilization or infrastructure around. Is that kind of your thinking as well?
I guess, but I guess at this point I wouldn't want to go, like I said, I would just plan a trip where that you've got, at least, for me it would be at least 100 kilometres extra compared to what the destination it is you're trying to reach, just in case for any unforeseen circumstances. I mean, I remember a time we were doing a road trip, and I think we spent about 3 hours in just traffic because of construction. So I wouldn't know how that would affect the charge on a Tesla, how much it would run down in 3 hours in basically standstill traffic on a highway. So
yeah, that's a good point. I think the slower you go, actually, the less charge, ironically, it takes, which is odd. There's something called vampire drain, but within 3 hours, it's not going to lose that much charge. So I think it should be okay, unless maybe it was really hot weather in summer. You'd be a bit concerned about sitting still in the sun, I suppose. Yeah, you raise a good point about needing an extra 100 kilometres buffer. At the moment, Tesla says that between superchargers is about 200 kilometres. So if my car, for example, takes 350 kilometres on 100% charge, so that should be enough of a buffer, I would have thought. All right, well, thank you very much, Joy, for joining us and giving us an insight from a passenger's point of view and from a mother of our children's point of view, and from a family perspective for road trips using an electric vehicle. All right, guys, well, thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully it's a lovely day wherever you are in this world. And as always, happy charging. Thanks for watching, and thanks for being part of the energy revolution. If you haven't done so already, be sure to hit subscribe to keep up to date with our latest videos. If you're about to buy a Tesla, use our promo code on screen to score free unlimited supercharging. Happy charging!